Morning, folks. Boss here. And allow me a moment to step out of the boss persona into another job that happens up under the same hat as a papa. Yeah, if you don't know it, I'm not only the ruler of all that I survey as King Jaffe Jaffer, I'm also a concerned dad and a papa. A papa is the endearing title I've been deemed worthy of by my grandchildren. So I'm papa. I hold that with great respect and pride to be a grandfather. You know, to have lived long enough to have my children, and my children have lived their lives to where they now have children. And I'm a part of that, an effective part of that. And I say that to say this. My daughter in California let me listen to something that was recited by her daughter, and it basically said what her thoughts on parenting was. Her dad, my granddaughter's dad, he chose to do other things, opposed to taking the lead in his child's life as the man in her life. Of course I stepped in, gladly, proud to do so. He, of course, now, you know, as you've seen on many teledramas and miniseries and sitcoms and failed TV shows, now would like to come back and make a presence. So, what the recording said, paraphrased, that my daughter had her, you know, re-emphasized so she could record it, was that she said, what did you say now? What was your explanation, and what did you want to say? She basically said, in a nutshell, what my dad has to do in order for me to call him dad, he has to do what Papa does. That's some ball of shit for a jit to say. She feels in order for this man to come back and be considered a dad and be called a dad, you got to do what Papa does. You got to be, you know, in the light that I have always seen my grandfather, because he was there to do things that, for whatever reason, you weren't. Reason she won't understand. Be careful who you sleep with, I've heard before, because you never know. You know, when it's time to put on that hat or take on that role of responsibility, you don't know where people's mind will go, or if they'll think selfishly about themselves. So when I heard this recorded today, I listened to it about 4 or 5 times. It's like, damn. If you don't think about it, you need to think about it. When a child trusts you enough to be around and come to you with questions, or come to you want to do things and come and ask, you know, want to do things and let you see them do it, that means something to them now, and they'll reflect back on later. You know, and where they recall you being and what role they recall you playing is how they'll remember whether or not you was worth a damn. Now this boy, I ain't saying he ain't worth a damn. I said, well, all along up until this point, I always said he wasn't worth a shit. But, you know, if they're going to give him a chance to come back and try to make good and, try to make some kind of, try to relish what's left, I mean, who's going to stop him, and why would you? You know, everybody makes mistakes, and anybody who, you know, everybody's falling short of the glory. So maybe this dude is an asshole, maybe he's a blue ribbon jerk, maybe he's a class A piece of shit, maybe he ain't worth a damn. Maybe he's one of those aforementioned tonsil dodgers, or one of those toilet tissue paper survivors. I don't know. I have my own opinions, but that's not important. But that's what the child expects, and that's what the child is used to. She's had stable upbringing. She's had a stable household. So it's like everybody that I know that made sure I was okay, I already know them. So who the fuck are you? And if you want me to give you some type of endearing title, I got one that you can pretty much try to own up and match up to. Papa set the bar. Are you at least there? If not, what's the point?